Let's jump straight into this explainer. We're looking at something incredibly powerful today: the journey to emotional alignment, specifically how we go about healing a wounded heart. We're going to figure out how to bridge that massive, sometimes exhausting gap between what your wounded heart is feeling and what your logical mind actually knows, so we can finally move toward true, lasting peace.
Why did this happen to me? Okay, if you've got a wounded heart, I guarantee you've asked yourself this exact question. Maybe you're asking it right now. When emotional pain hits, it's completely overwhelming. It's a raw, immediate reaction to trauma or heartbreak, and honestly, it's where the healing journey almost always kicks off. We have to question the very circumstances that brought us to this painful place.
And then comes the next question: will I ever feel whole again? There's this deep, incredibly heavy, silent weight to emotional pain, isn't there? The kind nobody else really sees. You start wondering if you can literally ever trust anyone again after taking that kind of hit. You might feel like you're just shrinking under all that grief, the disappointment, and the tears cried behind closed doors that nobody else understands.
But here is a foundational truth we need to anchor ourselves to. God actually sees that silent heartbreak. He doesn't just ignore your emotional pain or tell you to get over it. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds carefully, not forcefully. Think of it like a bandage protecting a fragile injury until the strength finally returns. Brokenness is absolutely not the end of your story here.
Now, we really need to focus on this because healing is almost never instant. In fact, God heals the heart in very specific, necessary layers. First comes the shock, then the anger, then the confusion, and finally, you reach that deep ache of acceptance. You cannot just skip a step. Navigating through every single one of these layers is absolutely vital for true restoration. So, what does healing actually look like in practice? It's a super active process of releasing and trusting. It means allowing yourself to grieve honestly and, just as importantly, forgiving yourself. You really do have to trust that this pain won't last forever. Yes, the scars might stay, for sure, but those scars, they simply become literal proof that you survived what tried to break you.
Let's move right into Act 2, the internal tug of war, when the heart and mind fight.
This right here is why healing feels so wildly confusing. Your heart is holding on to all those sweet, emotional moments, while your mind is frantically tracking the protective patterns. You can know, logically, that someone hurt you and still miss them terribly. You can know you deserve peace and still battle anxious thoughts. The heart just feels things way before the mind can even put them into words. This internal battle highlights a fascinating point about human nature. Now, don't misunderstand this scripture. It's not saying you're a hopeless case. It's basically a warning. It's teaching us that emotions alone simply cannot safely guide your life choices. When your emotions get louder than your wisdom, your own heart can actually deceive you. Because let's be real, feelings change, and pain speaks incredibly loudly. When your heart and mind are completely out of alignment, emotional exhaustion sets in fast. And loneliness can absolutely make the wrong things feel totally right in the moment. That's exactly why bridging this gap between the heart and the mind is so critical. Which brings us to Act 3, the fortress. Boundaries for inner peace. This is where the rubber meets the road, with some highly actionable steps to protect your peace. I absolutely love this piece of guidance because it places the ultimate priority right on the heart. Why? Because literally everything, your choices, your emotions, relationships, reactions, even how you see yourself flows directly from it. When you're wounded, you start operating out of a place of pain instead of peace. So guarding your heart isn't just a nice idea. It's essential for setting real boundaries. But listen, we aren't talking about becoming this cold, distant person who shuts everyone out. Guarding your heart is about developing a wise heart. Notice that distinction. It simply means protecting your spirit from things that continuously damage your well-being. It's a deliberate boundary. Think of it like a solid wall, but with a door that you entirely control.
So here are your daily, actionable habits for emotional health. First, you must actively walk away from constant chaos. Second, be deeply careful about who gets to speak into your life. Third, spend actual time genuinely healing rather than just pretending you're fine. And finally, just pause and pray before reacting emotionally to stressful situations. These habits are game changers.
Moving on to Act 4, alignment, the renewed mind. Let's look at how we finally stop this tug of war. You know what people always say when we go through trauma, right?
Society loves to hand out this terrible, dismissive advice. People just want to rush you through the process. They tell you to just forget it and move on, completely ignoring all those vital layers of healing we just talked about earlier. But God's method of healing asks us to do the exact opposite. He doesn't ask you to pretend the pain never happened. Instead, he simply says, "Bring it to me." You literally get to hand over that entire heavy, messy box of trauma.
You don't have to fake it. You just have to bring every single raw, messy emotion straight into the light. Bring the confusion. Bring that deep, gut-wrenching disappointment. Bring the anger, the memories, and yeah, bring the version of yourself that still feels totally broken right now. Healing is simply learning how to live without letting that pain become your entire identity. This scriptural promise is massive. It reminds us that real transformation, true alignment, starts internally. It starts with your thoughts way before it ever appears externally. It's not just about trying to fix your emotions, it is specifically about renewing your mind. That is where the genuine structural change begins.
Because when your mind is actually renewed, everything shifts. You establish boundaries without all the bitterness, and you learn to love without losing yourself in the process. You stop settling for less. You stop chasing folks who constantly drain your energy. You stop blaming yourself for every little thing that went wrong, and you finally stop trying to carry these massive emotional burdens all by yourself.
And here we are. This is the ultimate alignment. Your thoughts and your emotions finally on the same team, working together to rebuild your life. A healed mind stops romanticizing the pain of the past, and a healed heart stops living in constant fear of the future. You start to realize that not every closed door was a rejection, and not every heartbreak was meant to destroy you. I'm going to leave you with this question to really chew on. Look, the healing journey between the heart and mind, it doesn't happen overnight. But every honest moment of self-reflection and every single decision to actively choose peace over chaos proves that the healing is already underway. So what step will you take to choose peace today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.